outfit, new pair of glasses, controller in hand. Now, I haven't really done a review since Sonic Generations, so I apologize if I sound a bit rusty here, but let's move on. So around October of 2010, we finally got our hands on Sonic the Hedgehog 4 Episode 1. I say that the game, as a standalone title, was not bad, but it certainly lacked in the originality department. And as the months went on and as I continued to play it for various reasons, what I first thought was good became average, and what I first thought was average just became plain bad. Now, I'm not saying the game is anywhere near as bad as, say, like Sonic 06 and shit like that, but, you know, as a sequel to one of my favorite games of all time, it was certainly lacking. Nearly a year and a half later, we finally have our hands on Episode 2. At this rate, the entire game should be released sometime before 2016. You know, you'd think with advances in technology and game making, finishing a complete 2D Sonic game would take a much shorter time. But hey, if you want to make an episodic to technically claim that Sonic 4 as a whole sold a bazillion more copies than its predecessors, then, well, no, I'm not okay with that. Like I said before, this game shouldn't have been episodic in the first place. Well, anyway, story-wise, Episode 2 takes place immediately after the events of Episode 1. Well, according to the tie-in comic, anyway. After taking down the egg station, Tails shows up and tells Sonic that Little Planet is about to make its annual return. After feeling a bit nostalgic, Sonic and Tails sense that Dr. Eggman is once again up to no good and decide to head to Little Planet to check up on things. Actually, Sonic and Tails never do set foot on Little Planet at all, because unlike Sonic CD, Little Planet decides to reappear in space this time. I'm assuming the planet itself is sentient and learned its lesson from hovering over Never Lake last time. With the return of Little Planet, Dr. Eggman, by the power of pointing, rejuvenates Metal Sonic, who's been lying in Stardust Speedway since his defeat in Sonic CD. Wait, why is Stardust Speedway in the bad future? Didn't Sonic collect all the time stones? What about the robot generators? Did he miss one? If that's the case, then how the hell does Little Planet leave at the end of Sonic CD? You know, I think I'm probably the only one that actually gives a shit about that kind of stuff. By using Mad Gear Zone as a recharge station and by absorbing some purple stuff in Lost Labyrinth Zone, Metal Sonic is fully restored and decides to pursue Sonic and Tails as they start their new adventure. Like Episode 1, there are only 4 zones. I can't say I wasn't expecting that. I guess they want to make every episode equal in terms of zones, but as a standalone game, I think it just sticks out as inadequate. The main gimmick in Episode 2 is the co-op system. You control both Sonic and Tails at the same time during the entire game, something akin to Sonic Heroes. By pushing the tag action button, Sonic and Tails perform a tag combo that varies on where you activate it. In the air, Tails can carry Sonic for a short amount of time. On the ground, Sonic and Tails 69 their way through all sorts of obstacles at a high speed, and when underwater, Tails can carry Sonic like a submarine, allowing you to easily swim past hazards. Personally, I think this is a very interesting idea. You're essentially playing with a fusion of two characters that actually works. You have all of Sonic's speed in addition to Tails' flight capabilities. The only problem I have with this system is that there's no way to switch between characters as the lead. You're always in control of Sonic. Unless you're playing multiplayer, there's no way to play as Tails in the lead. Granted, it wouldn't matter much, but if it's possible in 2-player mode, then why not in single player? I mean, if Sonic gets left behind, there is a callback button that snaps the second player back to the first player's position, so what gives? There's really no need to get into the whole control aspect. Everything that Sonic could do in Episode 1, he can do just as efficiently in Episode 2. I am happy to say that the physics have been slightly tweaked since then, as rolling is now somewhat of a useful means to gain speed, and Sonic no longer stops on a dime the moment you let go of the control pad. He also no longer uncurls upon exiting a slope. With these tweaks, Sonic definitely feels a bit more fluid. Still not as fluid as the classic titles, but this is still pretty damn good. As you probably noticed by now, the graphical style is remarkably different than Episode 1. Now, I didn't mind the way Episode looked too much, with the exception of plastic grass, but this is so much better. Instead of mixing in 2D level planes with 3D character models, Episode 2 decides to go full 3D, and the result is one fantastic looking game. Each zone brings a certain atmosphere that I honestly don't think any other 2D game has captured yet. Seriously, it's breathtaking, and to me, it's how it should be done. Well, I still prefer HD 2D sprites, but this is still really good. For the zones themselves, we have Not Aquatic Ruin Zone, White Park Zone, Not Oil Ocean Zone, and Not Wing Fortress Zone. Wow, Sonic 4 has a serious fetish for reusing Sonic 2 level themes, with the exception of Lost Labyrinth Zone and maybe Splash Hill Zone. This is supposed to be a sequel, guys! Alright, in their defense, like Episode 1, although the themes are copied from an earlier title, the level gimmicks are different. Personally, I like how Sylvania Castle has multiple pathways that depend on what skills you use to reach them, and I'm glad that Sonic Team can show us some creative use of the homing attack, instead of just constantly bouncing off bubble chains, although there's still plenty of them in this game. Poor Bubbles, what happened to you? You used to be one of the most annoying enemies in Sonic 3, and now look at you. Degraded to a position that not even a Goomba would apply for. White Park is certainly the most original looking out of the 4 zones, but I find it rather bland. It's a winter wonderland, but there aren't any ice gimmicks of any sort, nor are there any carnival gimmicks. Where's the Gravitron? Spinning teacups? Midway games? I can see a carnival in the background, but why can't I go there? I do like the roller coaster aspects of Act 2, but even that begins to become repetitive after a minute, and it lacks any charm. Oil Desert is just there. I guess they were trying to combine Oil Ocean with Chemical Plant with the whole industrial setting, but like White Park, it lacks identity. Nothing in the zone sticks out besides the occasional burst of wind. You know what I do remember though? This sequence. Yes, unfortunately, like episode 1, almost every single level in this game is packed to the brim with springs and speed boosters. I'm not kidding, they're everywhere. I think it's worse than episode 1 actually. Why give us better control, power sneakers, a spin dash, and an incredibly fast 69 attack when the level often does all the work for us? In a 2D game, I like to feel like I'm in total control at all times. I don't see why they saw the need to plaster these things all over the place. Now, if there's one zone I do look forward to in episode 2, it's Sky Fortress Zone. Not Act 1 because that shit just drags after a while, but Act 2 and 3 have some of the best level designs out of Sonic 4 as a whole. Yes, I've complained that I don't like how Sky Fortress is essentially just Wing Fortress Zone with a fresh coat of paint in terms of looks, but I think this is a case where great level design and gimmicks more than make up for it. It rewards you for thinking outside of the box, just like the older titles, and to me, it should always be like that. Each zone contains 3 acts each with a boss act following right after, just like episode 1. Sometimes you'll encounter Dr. Eggman as some sort of giant mech, and other times you'll be duking it out with Metal Sonic. Overall, these boss fights are at best okay, but some of them really overstay their welcome, like Eggman's Metal Giant. The Metal Sonic fights are definitely a little more entertaining, and I think that's what they're going for here. You've probably seen the red rings at this point. Yeah, they're back from Sonic Colors and Sonic Generations, but unlike those 2 games, these don't do a goddamn thing in this game. Yep, nothing. Okay, you get an achievement for collecting them all, but come on, what kind of an award is that supposed to be? I mean, if you're an achievement whore, then I guess that's okay, but what happened to unlocking extra contents contained within the game itself? Bonus stages, concept art, music tracks, anything? Well, Chaos Emeralds make a return as well, but as you probably know by now, you need to complete a special stage to get one, because Sonic, for some reason, has lost all the Chaos Emeralds between episode 1 and this game. What the hell happened? Anyway, like episode 1, you need to collect at least 50 rings and jump into the giant ring at the end of the stage. For the special stage itself, we have, the half-pipe structure again? How many Sonic games have used this gimmick? I'm so freaking sick of this damn half-pipe. Where's the Blue Sphere love? This game is tied somewhat to Sonic CD, right? Where are the UFOs? Better yet, why not something original? Anything is better than this. It's been done to death. Yeah, so we all know how this works. You need to collect a set amount of rings before crossing a checkpoint. The further you get, the more difficult the stage becomes. If you score enough rings and pass all the checkpoints, the Chaos Emerald is yours. Failure to do so will result in Sonic and Tails suddenly deciding to stop running for some unexplained reason, which admittedly is better than how Sonic 2 handled it. Come on, there's the Emerald. Son of a bitch! Anyway, collect all 7 and you can use Super Sonic, which is always nice. It gets cancelled out though every time you use a team attack, which is kind of annoying, but nothing totally aggravating. I kinda wish Super Tails returned though, but there's no Super Emeralds in this game. Yet. Hopefully. Unfortunately for Sonic and Tails, the journey doesn't end after taking out the Sky Fortress. While the two have been keeping themselves busy, Dr. Eggman has managed to use Little Planet as the basis for his new pride and joy, the Death Egg Mark II. What? The Death Egg Mark II is not exactly what I would call a final level. I also don't find it as interesting as the Death Egg Zone in Sonic 3 and Knuckles, but this zone is really just here to host the final encounters with Metal Sonic and Dr. Eggman himself. In fact, this is the only time in the game where the two decide to team up and try to take out Sonic and Tails together. Shouldn't they have done that sooner? Anyway, for the final encounter, it's Sonic and Tails versus the heart of the Death Egg Mark II. I'll give the developers credit for thinking of something original for the final boss instead of shamelessly rehashing an older boss like they did in episode 1. My only problem with it is that it lacks spectacle, and I wish there was more to it. As you might have guessed, as soon as the battle ends, Sonic and Tails barely escape the exploding Death Egg, and that's it. Yeah, the Death Egg explodes, but it still looks perfectly intact, and Little Planet is still trapped inside. Oh, I see, I didn't get all the Chaos Emeralds. Well, let me just do that real quickly. I gotta tell you, Special Stage 7 takes a hell of a lot of memorization to get right. Luckily, like the first episode, you can hit start and hit the retry button to try again in case you're about to mess up. But I'll tell you right now, you're going to hate the Special Stage music as a result. I can't stand it. The soundtrack is also taking a toll on my ears, and it truly pains me to say that, especially for a Sonic game. Every single track in this game is really short and extremely repetitive, and some tracks just sound plain bad, like Oil Desert's Act 2 music and Act 3 music. Metal Sonic's theme is okay, but the boss music, Jesus Christ, remember that music that played in episode 1 when Eggman was entering his pinch mode? Well, that's all that plays here. How could they possibly think that was a good idea? Jun Sano, I love you man, but I think you're better off making the soundtrack with real instruments and not limit yourself like this. I get that you're trying to make the music as Genesis-like as possible, but it doesn't excuse the repetition. There we go, all 7 emeralds. Now let's beat that boss again. Yeah, there's Sonic and Tails flying back to Earth. This is the game's ending? The Death Egg remains intact, Little Planet is still trapped inside. What the hell? Now, I know a lot of you will bring up that, well, that's what episode 3 is for, John. Well, that's just it. We don't even know if there's going to be an episode 3. At least in episode 1, upon completing the game with all the Chaos Emeralds, we're treated to a small yet effective cliffhanger of Metal Sonic making a reappearance, along with a to be continued. We don't get any of that this time. No stinger of any sorts, no to be continued, nothing. Why would the game tell me to collect all the Chaos Emeralds, implying that there's more to the ending, and then show us nothing for getting them all? What kind of shit is that? I'm sorry guys, but so far the Sonic 4 saga is just not doing it for me. Where's the spectacular level design? Where are my elemental shields? Where the hell is Knuckles? What happened to the bonus stages inside checkpoints? What happened to the mini bosses? Why can't I lock onto episode 1 levels with Sonic and Tails? Why is this episode just so goddamn bland? Alright, look. To all those that got a lot of enjoyment out of this title, that's absolutely fine. It's not a bad game in general. It's really not. My biggest problem here is that it's called Sonic the Hedgehog 4. I'm not kidding. My biggest problem with this game is its fucking name. By making it a sequel to these gems right here, I think you're creating massive shoes to fill. And in my opinion, it doesn't come close to doing that. Alright, since I suck at segues, let's quickly talk about Episode Metal. Yeah, for those who have both Episode 1 and Episode 2 on the same system, you can unlock Episode Metal, a short adventure that explains how Metal Sonic returned from Little Planet after smashing his face into an easily avoidable shutter door. It's only 4 levels long, with Metal Sonic traveling through one act of each zone from Episode 1. It's really underwhelming, and it doesn't help that Metal Sonic controls exactly like Sonic with no differences whatsoever. It's alright, but like I said earlier, I'd rather have proper lock on and play both Episode 1 and 2 with both Sonic and Tails. With the way Episode 2 ends, I can't help but feel connecting this game with Sonic CD was rather pointless. Did it really need to happen at all? No, wait a minute. An enhanced port of Sonic CD was recently released a few months ago, wasn't it? Let's take a look. Yeah, I know I'm incredibly late for doing this, but yes, Sonic CD has been given an online release for Xbox Live, PlayStation Network, and mobile devices. And it's fucking awesome. You see, it isn't just a simple port, but rather it's rebuilt from the ground up with a new physics engine created by one Christian Whitehead. Now, Sonic CD always controlled like the Genesis titles, but with the new physics engine, all the collision detection problems I had with the original release are now gone. And as a result, it's much easier to time travel to the past and destroy those robot generators. Not only that, but the special stages are also easier to complete because the frame rate is now super smooth and controls incredibly well. I can actually get all the time stones in this port. You can even play as Tails in this version of the game with the ability to fly and all. How awesome is that? And if that wasn't enough, and for the first time ever, American gamers now have access to both the American and Japanese soundtrack. And let me just say this now, I love Sonic CD's Japanese soundtrack. In fact, I think it may be my favorite Sonic soundtrack of all time, next to Sonic Adventure. I don't like how the opening and ending themes are missing their lyrics, but that's what the soundtracks are for, and it really isn't a big deal anyway. With all these positive aspects combined, not to mention the $5 price tag, this is without a doubt the definitive version of Sonic CD, and I recommend you pick it up, though I'm sure a lot of you have already done that. Seriously, this enhanced port has made me find a new appreciation for this game, and I now consider it one of my favorite Sonic games of all time. Christian Whitehead, along with all the staff that made this port possible, you guys rock for doing this. And I really hope your retro engine can be used to make future 2D Sonic games. In fact, I really think Sonic 4 could have benefited from it. But I'll stop right now before I piss somebody off. Overall, Sonic the Hedgehog 4 Episode 2 is not a bad game, just an incredibly bland one. It's like this game is too afraid to obtain its own identity and relies too heavily on gimmicks and ideas that were fresh nearly 20 years ago, while at the same time overplaying other gimmicks like springs and speed boosters that cause almost all the levels to blend and feel similar to each other. Some levels tend to drag to almost painful levels, and while I do like the whole co-op thing with Sonic and Tails going on, I just think it wasn't fully utilized well in this game. This is especially apparent in local or online co-op, where most of the time one player will be doing all the work while the other one just stands by and waits for the obligatory team attack. Me and my brother Elliot plan on let's playing this game in the future, so you'll see what I mean then. Or you could just play the game yourself, whatever comes first. The graphics are great, and the control, while still not perfect, is still pretty nice. If you enjoyed Episode 1, then you will most likely enjoy Episode 2. If you didn't particularly like Episode 1, then I don't think this will really change your mind. What? Oh, nah, I decided I'm not gonna do that anymore. It's really more trouble than it's worth, and I should have stopped using it a few years ago. So from now on, guys, I'm not gonna be scoring the games anymore. I'll just let the review speak for itself. So... not sure how to end this. I mean, oh yeah, that Metal Sonic figure is still fucking awesome. And this Sonic figure is not too bad too, although its head is too fucking heavy. I can never stand it upright. God damn it.